rise as an aspect, and through the trials of war, betrayal, and sacrifice, we saw her endure imprisonment at Grim Battle, fight bravely against Deathwing, and ultimately relinquish her titanic power with grace and dignity. But her story didn't end with the loss of her aspect powers. Tonight we return to the flame that still burns within her, as the world shifts once again and the Dragon Isles stir with ancient energy. Alexstrasza rises to guide a new age, one where peace is fragile and the past is never truly buried. She will face the return of the Primal Incarnates, the awakening of the dracthyr, the reformation of Tyr, and a new rebellion that threatens unity. Yet through it all, she remains what she always has been, the guardian of life. Let us now continue her story and drift once more into the warmth of her flame. Dragonflight. Alexstrasza returned to the dragon's homeland, the Dragon Isles, arriving just in time to save Watcher Vyranoth from falling to his death. As all the dragons had felt the call to home, she put aside her past disagreements with Wrathion and offered him guidance. She also instructed Epician and Wrathion to extend a formal invitation to the Dragon Isles to the Horden Alliance, while having them warned that she would not abide their conflict on Isles. The factions promised to honor their truce and instead set the Relinquary and Explorer's Lake to work together as an expedition of discovery. Following the liberation of Razaketh, Alexstrasza convened with Nostormo, Kalekos, Koranos, and Wrathion to discuss the matter. Alexstrasza revealed to the confused Kalekos and Wrathion their history with Razaketh and the early war with the Primal Incarnates, of how it took everything to beat them back and seal them. When the outraged Wrathion demanded to know why she didn't execute them, she revealed that she didn't have the heart to do so, as they were once as close as classmates. However, in the face of Razaketh's awakening and the possibility of the other incarnates being unleashed, Alexstrasza declared that they must reclaim their aspect of their dragonflights must be made anew. To that end, she sought a disc within Uldaman, only to learn from Epician and Wrathion that the infinite dragonflight led by Chronoloord Deus had attacked and sent the disc to be lost through time. Alexstrasza also sent Major Domus Elistra to serve as her emissary to the arriving Horden Alliance adventurers to the Isles, with instructions to escort them to her at the life pools. After adventurers brought the infused dragon egg to the Major Domo, they believed that Alexstrasza would know what to do to save the whelp inside from the Primalists' machinations. After the egg was brought to her, she declared that the situation was dire and that the egg's only hope of salvation was within the life pools. When the life pools came under attack by Razaketh and her Primalists, she ordered her flight to protect the eggs and then flew off to personally confront Razaketh. As they clashed, she pleaded with Razaketh to see reason to stop the fighting so they could have peace. However, Razaketh refused, pushed the blame for the war solely on the aspect shoulders, and wounded Alexstrasza, who found herself saved by Wrathion. An amused Razaketh decided to leave the pair as he wanted Alexstrasza to watch as everything she cared for was destroyed before killing her. After being informed of the safety of the eggs by Celestra, she offered her gratitude to Wrathion, who was quick to try and recruit her, and her flight's aid in claiming the Obsidian Citadel from the Zaratil. Alexstrasza to do, after they had seen to the safety of the eggs, a declaration that confused Wrathion now that Razaketh had left. However, Alexstrasza was quick to point out that Wrathion didn't know her as she did, that she was an unpredictable foe, and that for now the Red Dragonflight must remain at the life pools to safeguard their future. Wrathion was quick to question if it was the dragon's future or her flights that she sought to safeguard, as the Obsidian Citadel was built to defend all the Dragon Isles, and implored that she couldn't abandon the legacy of his flight to the hands of their enemies. In response, she remarked that she would have expected him to care more for the protection of helpless eggs. Wrathion subsequently departed, determined to claim the citadel with the aid of his Black Talon. concern for Rathion, she enlisted adventurers to go and aid him in her stead, while she helped focus on protecting the new generation of Dragonqueen. Sometime later, Alexstrasza was approached by Rathion and informed that the last black dragon eggs were destroyed because of Sebelian. However, when she demanded answers, Sebelian revealed that the eggs were perfect, that he in fact had used him and Rathion as bait to attract their enemies' attention while his clutch of black dragons safely travelled by air to deliver the eggs. He then pledged his loyalty and that of his flight as Neltharion's heir to her. However, Alexstrasza was unmoved, recalling how Sebelian had played a part in Deathwing's twisted legacy, to which he had defended as being a matter of duty. Though she took the eggs under her care, she remarked that she would not get involved in their bickering, and the matter of aspectship between them was a matter for the black and not the red dragonflight to decide. Following this, she privately spoke with dracthyr adventurers, admitting that she hadn't known of their existence until the reawakening of the Forbidden Reach, and they are clear as to what their arrival meant to the dragonflights, whether they would be a boon or a pain to the defense of life. She then requested that they speak with the red dragonflight to see what the Oathstone meant to them, and to hopefully allow the dracthyr to understand more of where the dragonflights began and where they strive to reach. She further declared that there would be a home with them for the dracthyr. After Mother Elion successfully tended to eggs, the Dragonqueen declared that the future of all the flights was secured. She then revealed that Merithra and the green dragonflight has entered the Emerald Dream in an attempt to empower their own Oathstone, but had heard nothing since their slumber began. She thus suggested that they seek out the centaur that ruleth over the Onaran plains, feeling that they would need their connection to the land and its spirits in order to rouse the Greens. Sometime later, she travelled to Valtrakian within Thaltrassus, where Kalekos would inform her and Nostormu of his battle against Razaketh. In the subsequent meeting, Kalekos revealed that while Razaketh was fended off, her storm still persisted around the Vakros Tower. In return, Alexstrasza voiced her confusion on the matter, as the other Primal Incarnates were not imprisoned within the Azure span, and wondered what else she could be after, turning to Nostormu for insight. However, he revealed that his vision was still clouded, and remarked that for all he knew, the Primalists could be within Valtrakian. Thus the Aspects decided that they had to protect their home and search out any Primalists within the city. A wise precaution, as Captain Drine and the adventurer discovered that Primalists had infiltrated into the city and were seeking to create discontent against the Aspects. After the bronze Oathstone was restored, Nostormu sent the adventurer to inform Alexstrasza that all the Oathstones were now active. She subsequently thanked them for all they have done for the flights, and expressed her belief that with the Oathstones active, they would be able to use the Mother Oathstone in order to regain their aspect powers. Sometime later, she decided to show her mortal allies Silver Scale, that Tyr had left within her possession long ago, which served as a symbol of unity and friendship with the dragonflights. However, as she revealed to it, Kalekos noted that it pulsed with magic energy, which was a surprise to her and Nostormu, who thought it was just an example of the scale simply charging in their absence. However, Alexstrasza believed that the return to the Dragon Isles had awakened the scale, that Tyr had left them to the last enigma for them to investigate. Thus, she directed Watcher Koranos and adventurers with venturing to Tyrhold for answers. As the pair investigated, they ultimately awakened the magic within Tyrhold by placing the scale within, and subsequently used the scale to draw out the secrets about the place. They ultimately created a spark whose creation was felt by Kalekos himself, who shared it with his fellow Aspects, and the trio departed from Valtrakian to join the pair at Tyrhold. After witnessing himself. Though noting that the body didn't have the spark of life, Alexstrasza couldn't help but be overcome with gratitude and that a long-lost friend had been returned to them and expressed that they must do what they could to restore his true self, reflecting that the answers might be within the disc of Tyr. Following the return of Tyr's body and Merithra's ascension as new dreamer, but with the position of their warden still in dispute between Sebelian and Rathion, Alexstrasza returned to Tyrhold in order to activate the Mother Oathstone to restore the aspectral power to flights. However, to her shock and the hidden Razaketh's glee, the ritual failed after Razaketh revealed herself and they blamed one another for the ritual failing, with Alexstrasza believing that the Storm Eater had done something to prevent it from succeeding and Razaketh believing just that Alexstrasza had proven unworthy on her own. Regardless of the reason, Razaketh quickly departed to liberate her fellow Primal Incarnates from their prison, causing Alexstrasza to give chase. However, the Dragonqueen was unable to stop Razaketh breaking into the vault of the Incarnates and set Kalecgos, Khadgar and adventurers into the vault to stop her, while she and Nostormu planned to whatever is to come. In time she was informed that while Razaketh was slain, she had successfully freed her siblings. Upon hearing this news, Nostormu found that his vision was still clouded, but sensed a dark future was coming, which causes her to reflect that Razaketh's reckless haste had caused her death and that the other incarnates would not make the same mistake. Khadgar noticed that she and Nostormu were particularly concerned with Iridikron's release over the others, causing the pair to reveal that while Vyrrok and Vyranoth were loyal to the primalist ideals, it was Iridikron who had truly devoted himself to the war, striking dark bargains to do so. However, Kalecgos rallied them together by reminding them that only together do they have a chance at victory. Thus the group vowed to move forward together as one against the Incarnates and were determined to protect Azeroth. Embers of Neltharion. After the Incarnates opened the way into the Sarlacc caverns, Alexstrasza called upon Epician, Sebelian, Rathion and the adventurer to enter and deal with Vyrrok. After the group returned, she learned that Vyrrok had consumed Shadowflame and initially barred the black dragonflight from returning, unwillingly to risk losing them, before Epician convinced her that they had the strength to resist what lies below. In the aftermath of Epician being selected as the new aspect of the black dragonflight, Alexstrasza declared that the threat of Aperus had been quelled and had made them grow stronger, while declaring that soon Azeroth would welcome a symbol of hope from the Emerald Dream and that they would protect it. Alexstrasza then reflected on how long ago Neltharion was a dear friend and was filled with regret that she was never able to reach him, to help him break free from the corruption that blighted the entire black dragonflight. Acknowledging that she shouldn't linger on the past, Alexstrasza expressed hope that there were others she could reach. During this time, she and Kalecgos had decided the time had to put the essence of Malygos and Sytragosa to rest at the failed ossuary. After they arrived, she gave Kalec the honor of putting them to rest, only to then witness their memories reanimate. After the memories manifested, Alexstrasza found going to the memory of a traitorous sister, Malygos' last memory of her, before she and Kalec walked towards the memory of Deathwing. Upon seeing them, she reflected that despite being killed, they were unable to truly leave the world and recalled how it pained her to learn that Sytragosa had been risen into undeath by the Lich King. She and Kalecgos then departed as Senecos and Stellacosa investigated the matter. In time, Nostormu felt the energy that transcends time in the silver scale and believed that this would enable them to collect memories that Tyr did not implement to the scale. Thus Alexstrasza accompanied him to Tyrhold, where they would set adventurers and Watcher Koranos to the tomb of Tyr to acquire whatever memories were present. There, the pair obtained memories and witnessed Tyr She thus sent Maldra, Erima, and adventurers with stopping the rebels and taking prisoners to be questioned. Thus, after the threat was extinguished, Alexstrasza questioned the prisoners at the Steelcliff Rampart to learn why they rebelled, and learned that the many of the Dragonqueen felt used, treated poorly, and taken for granted, with some believing that the dragons taken over the home in Valtrakian. She acknowledged that they had taken Dragonqueen's allegiance for granted, that they must remember that what was home to the dragon was home to the Dragonqueen. That one point in which she disagreed was the notion that the Dragonqueen were made to fight and die in their wars, as she viewed the fighting as both dragons and Dragonqueen fighting together and not setting the Dragonqueen as troops to be used in war. After learning that the leader of the rebellion was Instigator Belafon, Alexstrasza sent her allies to where the Instigator was located and spread the word amongst the rebels that if the dragons vowed to treat them as equals, wanting them to solve the rebellion in the most peaceful way possible. While some of the Dragonqueen fought to the bitter end, others laid down their arms and returned to the fold. Meanwhile, Belafon submitted and attended a meeting with Alexstrasza and Maldra to discuss formally ending the Dragonqueen rebellion. However, the Dragonqueen made it clear that this was done in spite of the violence of the rebellion, instead of giving in to it, while she acknowledged that the dragons had at times been disrespectful, inconsiderate, and unfair in their treatment of the Dragonqueen. Many of the Dragonqueen killed in the fighting had been innocent. Thus she vowed from this day forward the dragons would invite the Dragonqueen to join them in their work over demanding and requiring it, with them being respected as part of the flights over being mere servants of them. With this, the Dragonqueen rebellion was formally ended, as Belafon rejoined the fold. Fractures in time. When Alexstrasza inquired if the clouds still accosted his mind, Storm revealed that something worse had happened, a moment of clarity in which he had seen that the infinite dragonflight and Iridikron had struck a bargain involving his descent into Morozond. While he was pessimistic about his faith, Alexstrasza declared that she and their allies wouldn't give up on him. Sometime later, feeling increasingly upset over the war against the Primalists, Alexstrasza traveled to the Waking Shore, where she met with her old friend and Vyranoth, one of the Primal Incarnates. During this, Vyranoth reflected on how Alexstrasza spoke to her after her imprisonment, recalling how the Dragonqueen had said that it didn't feel like a victory without her. However, Vyranoth was enraged, recalling how Alexstrasza promised how not to force the Titan's will upon them, and then did nothing when they warped the children still in the cell of their eggs. In response, Alexstrasza declared that it was an abhorrent act that never should have occurred, and that she regretted her part in it every day. She then mentioned that while Vyranoth had always fought for the good of dragonkind, Iridikron did not and simply craved vengeance. However, Vyranoth was unmoved, called her naive, and declared that all that remained was vengeance. Despite this, Alexstrasza still had hoped that Vyranoth and her would one day fight side by side again. At some point, Alul Gultaza, the Ulk Balul, the Merloc version of Alexstrasza from Asmerloth, arrived to speak with Zori Tormi and Alexstrasza. At this meeting, Alexstrasza learned that the timelines being pulled into Azeroth through the time rifts were attacking one another, and that echoes from the main timeline were attacking them as well. She accepted the offer of peace from her Merloc counterpart and left the handling of the time rifts to Zori Tormi, settle as she was more experienced in these matters. In the aftermath of Chromie and adventurers stopping the infinite dragonflight from as his own, which as a reflection of his heart, which Vyranoth declared had become cruel, blazing with insatiable malice and wreathed in shadow. After denouncing him as her brother, Vyranoth prepared to depart when Alexstrasza implored her to stand by their side. Astonished by such a request, she demanded to know why she should, to which Alexstrasza pointed out that she was a protector of her world, while acknowledging her own past failings, and asked that she stand with them for all dragonkind. After a moment, Vyranoth wordlessly followed Alexstrasza, silently agreeing to her old friend's request. Personality. Compassionate and wise, Alexstrasza treasures life in all its forms. She firmly believes that few beings are truly evil, and that even they are not necessarily beyond redemption, for change and growth is inherent in life. It can seek the light or the darkness, and it is only when it chooses the darkness so completely that life itself is endangered that there is no hope, as the case with Malicos and Deathwing. The life binder has always behaved with dignity, courage, grace and compassion, even in the face of inconceivable horrors and deep personal loss. She is known to be a kind and patient mentor. Under her tutelage, only the most dedicated pupils acquire the title of Lifebinder's Handmaiden. She prefers peace and solitude, although she will defend her lands with all her power against any who threaten them without due cause. She often uses her shape change power to appear as a creature of nature in order to see what encroaching mortals will do before revealing her presence. Alexstrasza is devoted to all forests and to a lesser extent all other types of green and fertile growing things. She considers all natural woodlands her home, and she needs fear no beast within such lands. Although many of Azeroth's natural creatures revere the great red Leviathan, she is not a goddess and does not pretend to be otherwise. Alexstrasza is rarely venerated by any particular group, although some elven communities pay her homage. Druids of the Wild in particular appreciate her serene presence, considering her second in importance only to Ysera. In her humanoid guise, Alexstrasza appears as a high elf with brownish red skin, intricate horns and a mane of fiery hair that has leaks of flame constantly escaping from it, only her eyes remaining unchangeable from her dragon form. Her face appears rounder than any high elf's, almost as if mixed with human traits. In this guise, the Lifebinder doesn't usually display much modesty in her choice of clothing, most often being dressed as a warrior